it is another effort to revive downtown Portland. This week, the Portland City Council passing an ordinance giving incentives to business owners to convert empty office spaces into apartments. Fox 12's Adrian Thomas is in downtown Portland with more on this plan. Adrian.
Well, Riel, that ordinance would give downtown building owners that incentive for at least the next 4 years. City officials say it's an investment into older buildings and neighborhoods in this area for business owners in the heart of downtown Portland. These ordinances are welcomed. City officials say this ordinance is a win-win for Portland because it creates more housing without new construction and gets more people living downtown and supporting local businesses. Huber's Cafe is a downtown staple. The owner tells us more people living downtown would be a critical part in bringing back downtown Portland's identity.
The old, iconic, historic restaurants are downtown. People coming to visit, whether it's business or for vacation, you need a strong core area.
The ordinance dramatically lowers the amount of money building owners and developers would have to pay the city for converting empty office buildings into housing. This includes the cost to retrofit older buildings to withstand earthquakes. Business owners acknowledge downtown Portland may not be the most desirable place right now, but they say things could turn around if more people are living in the area.
It makes a huge difference when there's people walking around. And we have problems with troublemakers downtown, and we didn't have as much of that when there were more people downtown walking around.
James Louie at Huber's Cafe feels the same way. Strength in numbers, whether it's new residents or more people frequenting businesses, will make all the difference for downtown Portland.
The more people that are downtown, that will deter people from doing vandalism and doing crime because there are more people around. And if you have more people, well, you have more witnesses.
Now, a spokesperson for one of the city commissioners says it's now up to building owners in this area to bring proposals to the city to take advantage of the office to housing incentive. Live in downtown Portland, Adrian Thomas, Fox 12 Oregon.